walking around with an empty stomach and no money to buy food, decided to make a choice to change his life forever. He quietly made his way to a nearby farm and carefully picked just 2 pieces of corn to cook and quench his hunger. To him, it was probably a simple solution to his hunger problem, not knowing that he had just kickstarted a chain of events that would eventually end the life of an important family member, while he himself would land on a hospital bed fighting for his own life. When Ebenezer plucked the 2 pieces of corn, he had no idea that the owner of the farm was around, and he certainly had no idea what this farm owner was capable of doing. The farm owner was Chief Denga Ajibade, and he was 62 years old. Chief Ajibade was a chieftaincy title holder known as the Ejimo of Ibetu Ijesha. He was also a member of the prestigious Ijesha Sports Club, which made him a respected figure in the community. But what Ebenezer was about to discover was that Chief Ajibade had a very dark side that no one in the community may have ever imagined. As Ebenezer picked the corn and prepared to leave the farm, Chief Ajibade appeared and caught him red-handed. The angry chief reportedly dealt with him mercilessly, while Ebenezer tried to explain that he had only stolen the corn because he was hungry. Unfortunately, Chief Ajibade had no interest in hearing his explanation. Things were also the least thing Ebenezer should have been worried about. By this time, people had come out to witness what was going on. While some brought out their camera to record the cornfield, others brought big sticks to make sure that he didn't escape. Chief Ajibade then instructed the people who had gathered at the scene to watch over Ebenezer while he went inside to pick something. These people had no idea that they were about to become witnesses to something that would probably haunt them for the rest of their lives. Ebenezer, now under the watch of these people, Chief Ajibade then left for his house, which was located very close to the farm. When he finally came out of his house, he was carrying 2 items that would eventually spell his fortune. In one hand, he was holding a cutlass, while he carried a bowl in the other hand. Inside this bowl was a plastic cup, and inside the plastic cup was a white liquid that no one could identify. Chief Ajibade forced Ebenezer to drink the white colored liquid, after which he allowed him to pack his things down. The bystanders had no idea what the contents of the liquid in the cup were, but after seeing Ebenezer's reaction, it became clear to them that something was about to go horribly wrong. They quickly carried Ebenezer to their vehicle and then rushed him to the hospital in Ilesha. The doctors at the hospital immediately recognized that Ebenezer had been poisoned. However, it is not known if they were able to identify the exact contents of the liquid he was made to drink. But thankfully, the doctors were able to successfully neutralize its effect, thereby saving Ebenezer's life. Sadly, the nightmare was just about to get even worse, because while Ebenezer was fighting for his life in the hospital, another tragedy was building up somewhere else. While the doctors were working to save Ebenezer's life, someone in the community made a terrible mistake that could have devastating consequences. This person went to the house of Ebenezer's elderly father to inform him about what had happened to his son. However, instead of telling the father that Ebenezer was in the hospital receiving treatment, this person told the father that his son had died after being caught stealing corn and then forced to drink poison. The news hit Ebenezer's father like a bolt of lightning, and the shock of hearing that his child had been poisoned to death over 2 pieces of corn was just too much for his heart to bear. Ebenezer's father was said to have collapsed and died instantly. The irony of the situation was heartbreaking, because while Ebenezer was actually recovering in the hospital and would soon be completely fine, his father had died, believing that his son was dead. The misinformation had claimed a lie, and there was no way to bring the old man back to life or tell him that his son was actually safe. The news about what Chief Ajibade had done began to spread throughout the community, and the video of him forcing Ebenezer to drink the unknown liquid was shared across social media platforms. The video quickly went viral and then brought negative attention to the Ijesha Sports Club, of which Chief Ajibade was a member. The club's executive committee was deeply disturbed by what they saw in the video, and they realized that they had to take immediate action to protect their reputation. On August 6, 2025, the club held an emergency meeting to discuss Chief Ajibade's actions. They suspended him from the organization while the incident awaited further investigation by the police. The incident was reported to the police, and the Osun State Police Command swung into action. They arrested Chief Ajibade from his hometown in Igbeto, Ijesha, and then transported him to their headquarters in Ilushin. The spokesperson of Ilushin State Police Command confirmed during a chat with journalists that Ebenezer was alive and stable in the hospital. However, his father had died of shock after receiving the wrong information about his son's condition. As it stands, Chief Ajibade is likely to be charged at least with attempted murder. The case remains under active investigation, and as more details emerge, you will be promptly updated.
Years of our life was very practical. Here, a man poisoned a neighbor for clocking 2 coins. That's amazing. He was hungry, but however, when they plucked 2 coins, and the man, the Ajibade, who was a citizen or the community owner, poisoned him. That's amazing. Very amazing. However, this thing left people in the community shunned. It belongs to a club in the community. Club mainly swung into action. What do I have anything to do with this man? He said, suspended him. That was how they are gone. And the police swung into action. Arrested him. He charged to court. However, what will come of him cannot be known yet. After charging to court, court will either give him a sentence, attended murder. That would be amazing. Tell me what I like and share a talk will come in the comment section. That you people will be very wicked like that or not. A community where you close with other people, try to have everything to yourself. Share, like, and don't comment section.
With a dangerous murder suspect. So guys, on the morning of May 6, 2016, there has been a major update on the case of Ayeko. So guys, something right around 10 p.m. on Thursday, July 17, 2025, the manager of a hotel in the Ayeko Ikaja area of Lagos State, Nigeria, was performing his regular evening routine. It needed some sounds that would mark the beginning of a very horrible discovery. He had made his way to fuel the generator that would keep the building running throughout the night. It was supposed to be just another ordinary task in what had appeared like an ordinary day. But as he approached the generator, he heard some strange noises coming from one of the guests. The noises were disturbing and sounded almost like screams coming from a person who was in danger. Unknown to the hotel manager, another guest staying in the room right next to the source of the noise had also heard the strange sounds. The guest, who identified himself simply as Adi, had checked into the hotel on Wednesday, just 1 day before this fateful evening. He would later reveal that while he had noticed the strange noises coming from the room beside his own, he didn't think much of it at first. Those sounds would be the final cries of an innocent woman fighting. The hotel manager couldn't ignore what he was hearing, so he quickly called for a security operative who arrived at the scene. Together, they approached the room and the disturbing noises had been coming from. The security operative knocked on the door, hoping to get some kind of response from whoever was inside. However, no matter how hard they knocked, all they got was heavy silence. With growing concern, the security operative made a decision that would reveal the true horror of what had happened inside the hotel room. He retrieved the spade into the room and slowly opened the door, only to find the body of a young woman full of her. The scene was so gruesome that it was immediately clear to them that what they had just witnessed was not an accident or natural death. It was a clear case of murder that had been carried out in the most brutal way imaginable. The discovery of the body created panic and confusion within the hotel. The manager and other staff members quickly raised an alarm while they made efforts to identify the guests who had booked the affected room. A quick check revealed that the room had been booked by 3 people and that 2 out of the 3 guests had already fled the scene, leaving the possibility of the 3rd guest still hiding within the premises. A search within the hotel premises was quickly initiated, and it was during this desperate search that luck finally seemed to favor justice. One of the hotel staff members spotted movement near the hotel gate. The man was trying to run toward the exit, clearly attempting to escape the building without being noticed. The staff member quickly alerted others, and together they managed to corner the fleeing suspect. The man they caught was identified as Daniel, also known by his street name, Gambit, who was said to be a cultist and also one of the 3 people who had earlier checked into the room where the murder had taken place. When Daniel realized that he had been caught, he began to panic, but there was nowhere left for him to run to. The angry hotel staff didn't wait for the authorities. They began dealing with Daniel on the spot, demanding answers about what had happened inside that room. Investigation revealed that Daniel had first booked the hotel room around 1 p.m. on that Thursday afternoon, but he didn't check in alone, which shows that what happened was clearly a planned operation involving multiple people. Daniel had arrived at the hotel around 5 p.m. with some friends, thereby making it look like a normal group of young people looking for a place to stay. The hotel staff had no reason to suspect that these guests would bring death and terror to their establishment. While Daniel and his friends checked in together, the young woman joined them later. This woman would later be identified simply as Endurance, a young lady from Akwa Ibom State who had no idea that she was walking into a death trap. The events that took place in the room between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. remain a mystery that investigators are still trying to piece together. But what is clear is that at some point during those 5 hours, Daniel and his accomplices made a decision that would end an innocent woman's life in the most brutal way possible. According to the confession made by Daniel while being beaten by the hotel staff, he admitted that he had conspired with his 2 friends to kill Endurance for money ritual purposes. When the Lagos State Police finally arrived at the scene, they found themselves dealing with one of the most disturbing cases they had encountered that week. The hotel manager had reported the incident to the Yogo police station on Friday, the day after the murder had taken place. According to the police investigation, Endurance had been stabbed multiple times in different parts of her body. The suspects had attacked her in the stomach, on the left side of her head, and on the upper side of her ribs. It was also revealed that while the hotel staff pursued Daniel and eventually caught him, the dagger had fallen from his body. This weapon was suspected to be the same one used to commit a terrible crime. But the investigation didn't stop there. The police also visited his home. They discovered a battle axe, a cutlass, a machete, jackknife, a laptop, 7 jungle bricks, a local spoon, and a big pair of scissors. This collection of weapons and tools suggested that Daniel had been planning violent activities for some time and that the murder of Endurance might not have been his first crime. While investigators worked to build their case against Daniel, the body of Endurance was evacuated from the hotel room and then transported to Mainland General Hospital in Yaba. It was deposited.
For life.
The police arranged for an autopsy to be conducted, which would provide crucial evidence about exactly how Endurance died and what she suffered in her final moments. This medical examination would become a key part of the case against her alleged killers. What happened to Endurance is just one among the numerous other cases that show the disturbing reality of ritual killers that continue to plague some parts of Nigeria. It is just so disheartening to know that people lose their lives to others just because they believe that human sacrifice can bring them power or wealth. Daniel's alleged confession that he and his friends killed Endurance for ritual purposes shows just how dangerous these beliefs can be. If the allegations are true, then Endurance died not because of anything she did, but was simply because some people believed her death would benefit them in some supernatural way. The Lagos State Police Command has taken the case very seriously. They have transferred all evidence and the suspect to the State Criminal Investigation Department at Yaba for what they described as a discreet investigation. This transfer indicates that authorities recognize the serious nature of the crime and want to ensure that every aspect is thoroughly investigated. The case remains under investigation as authorities continue their work to bring all those responsible to justice. The two other suspects who fled the scene are still at large, and police are likely working to track them down and ensure that they face the consequences of their alleged actions. What do you think can be done to stop ritual killings in Nigeria? Share your views in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more true crime. On June 20th, 2025, Barrister Godwin Ikoiwa has suspected that his wife was cheating on him. He also had reasons to believe that he may not have been the real father of his children. Ikoiwa had planned to talk to his in-laws about these troubling suspicions. After he reached out to them, the in-laws summoned him to come to their family house in the village so that they could discuss it. Completely unaware of the gravity of the allegations he had just leveled on his wife, decided to innocently honor their request. But that would be the very last time he would never be seen alive. On January 19, 2022, 41-year-old Godwin Ikoiwa left his home in Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria, and drove to his wife's family house in the Konoruga government area within the same Akwa Ibom State. Before relocating to Ilorin, he had been living with his mother-in-law for some time, often traveling daily to work at the Ministry of Justice from her. The respected lawyer had recently made shocking discoveries about his wife, Abasese Banga Ikoiwa, and what he found was something that would shake any man to his core. His wife had allegedly been unfaithful, and worse still, she had been living a lie that involved their entire family. On January 20, 2022, Ikoiwa failed to appear in court for an important case he was handling. His colleague made excuses for him, telling the court that he was not feeling well. After the court session, the same colleague called to check on him, but surprisingly, it was Ikoiwa's wife who answered the phone. She explained to him that her husband was sick, but what the colleague did not know was that Ikoiwa was already dead. His body had been secretly moved to St. Luke's Hospital in Ilorin. It was deposited in the mortuary. Also, the woman who had just spoken about her husband being sick had already begun making plans to cover up the truth about the circumstances that led to his horrible death. Meanwhile, Abasese Banga, who worked at the Court of Appeal in Calabar, acted as if nothing had happened. She reportedly went to work normally, and her colleagues had no idea that she had just lost her husband. She did not inform Ikoiwa's elderly parents, who lived in the same city she was working, about their son's death. When Abasese Banga finally contacted her husband's family, she told them a carefully crafted story that would end up raising more questions than answers. She claimed she had been in Pataki until she received a call from her husband saying he was having an asthma attack. She said she told him to go to the hospital immediately, while she hired a taxi to rush back to him. According to her version of the story, Ikoiwa had driven himself to St. Luke's Hospital but died shortly after arrival. She claimed to have found his tie in the hospital parking lot. The case still in investigation. She even handed over some of the service files. The junior lawyer claiming she was following her husband's instructions. However, there was something strange about her behavior. Abasese Banga refused to give Ikoiwa's family access to his body. She reportedly held on to the mortuary receipt, which was needed to allow him for an entire week to deny his family the right to see their late son. The family finally gained access to the body. They were horrified by what they found. Ikoiwa's elder brother noticed severe injuries that told a different story from the official cause of death. There was a deep cut above his left arm, and his lips showed burn marks. There were also marks on his hands and legs, suggesting that he had been tied up. The mortician also revealed that when Ikoiwa was brought in, he was already dead. According to him, he had to force a balming fluid into the body, an act that is only necessary when someone has been dead for some time. These discoveries led the family to immediately request an autopsy. Toxicology test the suspected foul play, and in a few days, their instincts tragically on March 15, 2020, the pathologist read the autopsy result in front of Ikoiwa's family, police officers, and Abasese Banga's lawyer. However, Abaseseba herself refused to attend, stating that she was not interested. So, pathologists confirmed that Ikoiwa had not died from asthma, as claimed by the wife's family. Instead, he had been murdered in the most brutal way possible. The evidence showed that he had been tied up, his hands bound behind his back, thereby putting pressure on his ribcage. There were also marks on his legs, indicating that he had been restrained. The most horrific discovery was the fact that he had been forced to swallow a toxic insecticide known locally as tapia or sniper. This meant that his killers had tied him up, gave him the insecticide, and they stood by and watched as he died a slow agonizing death from the poison. It was also discovered that while Ikoiwa was being murdered, his wife was in Calabar, allegedly coordinating with her family members through multiple phone calls. Investigation revealed that she had been in constant contact with her mother, sister, and brother during the time of the murder. After confirming her husband's death, Aseseba's Facebook was not his family or the police, but the popular Reverend Father known as Adam Morris. This priest would go on to play a crucial role in the cover-up that followed. Aseseba's behavior after the murder raised many red flags. Received approval to collect her husband's benefits from the Akwa Ibom State government even before he was married. Two unknown men, identified as her brother, is said to have moved to Ikoiwa's house and removed his daughter, telling the hitman that they would take the late lawyer's testimony. When the time for the burial came, Aseseba reportedly refused to attend her husband's funeral. She also wrote a petition to the police force criminal headquarters in Abuja against all of Ikoiwa's family members, including his 93-year-old father and 62-year-old mother. They were threatening her life. Further investigation later revealed the shocking truth behind Ikoiwa's murder. The respected lawyer had discovered that his wife had been living a lie that involved not just her entire family, but also some prominent church leaders. As a teenager, Aseseba lived in the popular Catholic priest in the state, identified as Reverend Father Morris. During this time, the priest had allegedly impregnated her, and she gave birth to a son. Aseseba eventually married Ikoiwa in 2017. Her family received him into the living room. The child she had from the Reverend Father was her younger brother. According to reports, the boy was even named after Father Peter's national grandmother. For years, Ikoiwa unknowingly raised and gave for a child born from an illicit relationship between his wife and a Catholic priest. The boy was reportedly 15 years old when Ikoiwa married Aseseba, and he moved in with the couple after their marriage. Unfortunately, the deception didn't end there. Ikoiwa had also discovered that his wife was allegedly having an affair with her former employer. Additionally, according to his friend's testimony, each time his wife claimed to be pregnant, Ikoiwa could not be allowed to see her until after delivery. She would simply present the child and say, "This is your child." He was made to believe that where his wife came from, it was considered an abomination for him to live with her after she had taken her. These discoveries motivated Ikoiwa to confront his wife and demand DNA tests to determine the paternity of their children. It was this confrontation that led to a vital family meeting. An investigation by the Department of State Services, DSS, revealed a complex conspiracy involving multiple people. Phone records showed that on January 19, 2022, Aseseba had multiple conversations with Reverend Father Morris, the same priest who had allegedly fathered her child years earlier. After Ikoiwa had been killed, Father Morris called Reverend Father Gabriel Eko, the administrator of St. Luke's Hospital, to arrange for a forged death certificate. Father Eko then instructed Dr. Imo Johnson to prepare false medical records, claiming that Ikoiwa had been treated for asthma complications but had died at the hospital. The conspiracy was designed to hide the fact that Ikoiwa had died at his mother-in-law's place in Ikonomile. The false death certificate was meant to prevent any suspicion from his family, with whom Aseseba reportedly had a very poor relationship. Following the autopsy results and public pressure from Ikoiwa's friends and concerned citizens, the police finally took action. In a sting operation, Aseseba's mother was arrested at her house in Ikono, Akwa Ibom State. By April 2023, 6 people had been charged in connection with Ikoiwa's murder. These 6 people included the wife, the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, the doctor who falsified the death certificate, the Reverend Father, who was the hospital administrator, and another medical doctor. The trial stretched over 2 years, with prosecutors calling 18 witnesses and presenting 51 exhibits. The The evidence established that Ikoiwa had died from insecticide poisoning while at his mother-in-law's house, and that his body had been secretly moved to the hospital to create the false impression that he had died there. On June 30, 2025, Justice Basingham delivered a verdict. 5 of the 6 defendants were convicted, while one of them was acquitted of all charges. The wife, Abasesebara, was convicted of conspiracy and accessory after murder, but acquitted of murder itself. She was sentenced to just 2 years in prison, and the sentence had commenced on February 18, 2022, which means that she is currently a free woman. The mother-in-law, Margaret Patrick Moore, was convicted of murder and conspiracy. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison. The sister-in-law, Owedogo Patrick, was also convicted of murder and conspiracy. She was sentenced to just 10 years in prison. Dr. Moore Johnson was convicted of issuing false death certificate and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Reverend Father Gabriel was convicted of issuing a false death certificate as a public officer and was sentenced to 4 years in prison. Dr. Isaac Ojoku was the one who was acquitted of all charges. The judge stated that the reason he gave reduced sentences was because all of them were first-time offenders. He also mentioned that the mother-in-law was elderly and that the sister-in-law had a young baby at the time the crime was committed. The ridiculous sentences backed out from both the prosecution and the Ikoiwa's family. They felt that the punishment were too lenient for such a brutal murder. Ikoiwa's friend, who had been the last person to speak with him before his death, questioned why key figures like Father Morris Pickney had not been charged at all. The family and their supporters argued that the sentences did not reflect the severity of the crime. They pointed out that Ikoiwa had been found, beaten and forced to ingest poison while his killers watched him die slowly. Most importantly, Reverend Father Morris Pickney, who appeared to be at the center of the conspiracy and had allegedly fathered Abasesebara
Years of her life.
So guys, some with a 55-year-old
That is the story of her life. Story of her life. How people. How people.
None of them would have ever believed that. She would suffer a very terrible fate at the hands of 3 blood brothers, thereby rendering them orphans during the short span of 2 years after losing their father. What began as a meeting game in Babalada Abuja was to become a nightmare that would continue family for her. But the truth behind her disappearance was far more disturbing than anyone would have ever imagined at the time. It involved of lies, prayer, and a carefully planned cover-up that would eventually be exposed in the most shocking way possible. It all began on God, May 15, 2020, after Mrs. Janet Bonaya had left her home in Babalada Abuja, just as she had done countless times in the past. She was a woman of faith, someone who only she broke from the church, town meetings, or trips to the market. Her children knew her movement patterns very well, which was why what happened next immediately linked her. The very next Thursday evening came and went. Janet did not return. Her younger child waited anxiously as the hours ticked by, watching the door for any sign of someone else. The morning broke on Friday, May 15th, and there was still no word from Janet. The panic began to set in. Children immediately sensed that something was just getting wrong. At around 8:30 in the morning, the children made a desperate call to their older brother, Jonathan, who lived in the same house. He was informed that their mother had left him on call and not been seen or heard from him. On hearing this, Jonathan immediately made his way to Babalada, visited the Babalada police station, filed a missing persons report on behalf of his mother. After this, he and his friends went from Babalada to town, desperately looking for any clues about what might have happened to Janet. They checked for possible accidents, asked around the community, and followed every lead they could think of. But as Friday turned into Saturday, there was still no trace of the missing girl. Throughout this entire period, Janet's phone remained switched off. Friends and family members had been trying to reach her ever since the alarm was raised. But every call made 12 went straight to voicemail. Saturday morning brought a terrifying development that would change everything. After a night of heavy rain, family folk perhaps Janet had decided to sleep somewhere. Due to the heavy rain that fell that night, he continued trying to reach her phone, hoping that she would eventually pick up. Then, unexpectedly, the phone connected. However, the voice at the other end was not that of Janet. It was a female voice who answered to inform the caller that Janet had been kidnapped and that if they wanted her safe release, they needed to pay the sum 5 million naira as ransom. Jonathan immediately contacted the police again, this time reporting that they were now dealing with a kidnapping situation. The kidnappers had reached out to the police, after which they were completely silent and off. The police began their investigation immediately by tracing the phone calls made to Janet's family, literally leading to a group of siblings who had fled Abuja and returned to their homestead of Imo. Police officers were deployed to the suspect's hometown in Imo State. They arrested 3 brothers, 28-year-old Johnson Emmanuel, 51-year-old Gideon Emmanuel, and 27-year-old Success Emmanuel, all from the same. The main suspect, Johnson Emmanuel, was a welder by profession who also did CCTV installations. He had relocated from Port Harcourt to Abuja in 2018 and was the eldest of 7 children. Gideon was a panel beater who had been recruited by his older brother Johnson to help him. As arrested when police tracked down Janet's stolen vehicle, which had been taken to a mechanic workshop for alterations. Success Emmanuel, the youngest of the 3, was initially believed to be less involved in the actual crime, but was arrested as part of the investigation. During interrogation, Johnson confessed that he had lured Janet to his house in the home area of Abuja. He claimed that they had been communicating through Facebook for about 2 years and had developed some kind of relationship. However, this story would later be disputed by Janet's family, who insisted that their mother would never go into a relationship. According to Johnson, after Janet arrived at his place, he pleaded with her to spend the night, but she insisted on returning. To achieve his goal of making her sleep over, he visited a nearby chemist shop to buy what he described as a sleeping powder. He added the powder to a drink and then served it to Janet. Unknown to him, the amount of powder he added to the drink was higher than recommended, thereby causing Janet to sleep and never to wake up again. When Johnson realized that Janet was dead, he panicked and called his younger brother, Gideon. Together, they discussed how to dispose of her body. Gideon suggested that they should place the body in her car and dump it by the roadside, but Johnson was scared that they might be spotted and arrested. He then suggested that they should dump the body inside the subway behind his house, a plan that Gideon himself eventually agreed to. Together, they buried Janet in the pit and then proceeded to clean up any evidence of the crime. To avoid suspicion, Johnson decided to sell the entire property, including a 1-bedroom flat and 2 self-contained apartments that were still under control. He sold these properties at a giveaway price of 7 million naira. Once the house was sold, he relocated to his village in Imo State. After moving to the village, Johnson began plotting how to dispose of Janet's car, further erase any links to the crime. He took the vehicle to a panel beater to prevent it from being removed. He spent 45,000 naira on new registration papers, another 25,000 naira for different properties, and 40,000 naira for the preventive job. In order to transport the altered vehicle to the village without drawing any suspicion, Johnson reached out to a female police officer. He lied to her that he had just purchased the vehicle and that he needed her to escort his brothers and the car back to the village. Johnson admitted that the female officer had no idea the car was connected to the crime. He also admitted that while his brother Gideon was fully aware of what had happened, their youngest brother Success knew absolutely nothing about the incident. According to him, he convinced Gideon to assist him with the crime by promising to give him money to start a business. Johnson also confessed to using Janet's phone to call her family, pretending to be a kidnapper and demanding a ransom amount of 5 million. He said his intention was not to collect the ransom money, but rather to make it appear as though Janet had been abducted by his own criminals.
I know Mr. Jen, good night. since 2 years now. I've been dating since 2 years. And I don't have from Facebook. I have a source group looking as well as my mother. I saw her as a mother in Israel. I've been chatting her. She don't know that I worship in the church. And then I started for 3 years. When the time she gave me, she called me. She always come to my house. I'm not taking that for anything that happens. I don't really know. Anytime she came to my house, she always, after I stayed with her, she finished breaking off, she always go. When I answered the question, she never answered. This one, unfortunately, last month, she visited me. Then, after she visited me, I went to, he called me at McDonald's. Clearly, I did that, this car was it. Anytime she will see our mothers that this car, she enter on the other side. So really, we are going to say, don't want me to take me to the just go to my house direct. That's okay. So when we finish that place, so far, I still with her. And after Member, I wanted to go back to like Spanish, yeah. So I said, she not going to buy soup for this, she have more, she can never eat the same rice. So we kind of rice, any kind of rice. So I went to someone and buy like fried rice. She went, so I went at that time, we are going to sleep here. She said, she cannot take that make her to sleep past. She cannot buy soup past. So when I buy that fried rice, I go to get this from myself. It's one of the toys that my brother comes into. He can never sleep. And it is something that God can give. Graduates to our brothers. He said I straight out of school until he became. He said, give me the door, give me one of those. So I said, when I get home, I buy that blended juice. I grind it, when I get it, but that is the bush. Formally, she came to my house. She always take one glass, so I put other things beside her. That day, after she finished, she made money. I came out, she was living where she's been since her life. And I come back, so I went to the house. I went out, I came back. When I came back, the night, sleep together, and in the morning, I come and watch it. So don't take it, I went myself. When I came back to Africa, I confirmed that she's how much I was not even Friday. They're not in the week. My brother, they don't know anything about this. They just think about everything is on my good. They don't know anything about it. I have to promise my brother. He say, I want to see you. He said, this is kind of love after night. Well, he didn't anything about it. Nothing just come down. So, barely he came to my house. I knew that somebody died in my house. He said, the sheikh said, who is that person? I said, somebody died. Before you did that place, I've already used to have I was going to have over high. My brother said, she can never try to do this. I should put it inside this food. I went to keep the certificate to marry it. I said, my name was that place. Police are living there. Many prominent people are living there. See me, I'm going to finish. I will be a problem. He said, no, say, I don't know them. I said, no, help me. I forced myself to sit down, to help me to join the woman. I really want to bring the woman as I like to get this very strong way. So that woman is like, so that out of finish. And then how you get the system to help me, she don't get left. I don't know that she will have I never know this woman in person, and I've never seen her before. But I remember one night, my elder brother had called me that I should come to his house. I was very late. I said, I hope one day, say yes, I should come. I should come back. I should come very, very, very fast. I was thinking he's in trouble. I now to around this place. On his way, the one I get to move the month. I saw one green Highlander parked. When I knocked, he was asking me to have the paper. I said no. So I should come inside. When I came inside the house, he locked the door. We went out, he locked the door. He said, I said, what is the problem? What is the problem? He said, his girlfriend died in his house. I said, no, he said, like this today. I said, oh. I wanted to go outside. They said I should come, that they don't want to involve anybody in this. We don't want anybody to know what's happening. They don't want the neighbors to know what's happening. I said, but why do you involve me? Why do you call your phone? Why do you call your initial office? Why do you want me to help you? Say, I was telling 6 years ago. I said, okay, because the only thing I will suggest for you now, I'm your mother. I can't call police for you. I can't do anything. Why can't you, since you say you don't know what to do now, why can't you take this lady? Now, something I asked him, who is the owner of the compound? He said, the woman killed the vehicle. I said, okay, can you please woman inside his vehicle? Actually, you can drive along this road, but tomorrow morning people can come to identify her so that we can be able to escape yourself from this issue. And when they saw her in the vehicle, they think something else. But I said, no, the neighbors will see him. We saw that one. But just like, what is important this step for this issue? I was saying, oh, I said, okay, what do you want to do now? He said, we want to see if we can bury the woman on his own soccer way. So that is no idea. If you are doing a thing like that, don't involve me. So he was trying to plead. Even him, to answer him was himself was afraid like if I would start telling people, it's okay that I should make sure after this time nobody will know what happened. Nobody will know what happened. I will not tell myself. I will not tell anybody. But should in case this involves tomorrow, you should not involve me because I know nothing about this. So when he went to the backyard, he opened his door. And then when I started to search for the stuff, when he dragged me inside, he saw that I ran out. Since that day, I've never entered that compound. Till today when I get that news, like I smell the slum. After that, I know nothing about this matter. I don't have any time in this matter. The only thing that linked me with this suspect was that when we arrived in the village, he kept on telling everybody that he has bought a vehicle and the vehicle is arriving. So that very morning, the vehicle has arrived to a particular junction. I should follow him to come work on the vehicle. So when we got there, he told me that I was supposed to be blasting the woman 30,000 naira. But based on the fact that the woman who is escorting the vehicle has already picked up 3 passengers in the vehicle, that is not going to balance her exact amount he's supposed to balance, that is going to balance her 20,000 naira. That I should be with the 20,000 naira so that I can give it to the woman. I asked him why. He said if you should give it to the woman, they will start arguing. I don't need much argument. I should be the one to give it to the woman. So I collected the 20,000 naira and stood at the junction there, waiting for the vehicle. A while, he called me that I should not start at the junction, that I should look for a place where I can sit. I asked him why. He said so that I can be able to see them very well. It's all cleared out. I was very short nearby. I sat down with one. Not just 5 minutes after my wife called, I just saw gunshots around and I was arrested. I was still asking, what did I do? I was thinking maybe they came around to arrest cultists or armed robbers or whatever. Before I could know what is happening, I saw myself in the so I was living like that busy worry, and I saw myself here in Abuja. That is all we can see about this.
Janet Elena Ogbonaya was a 55-year-old woman who had been struggling to rebuild her life after the loss of her husband. Janet had been married for 35 years before her husband passed away and was buried in May 2019, exactly 1 year before her tragedy. Her son, Jonathan, came out to openly reject the claims that his mother was in a relationship with Johnson. The police also didn't believe that Janet had gone to Johnson's house for an affair. According to them, after Janet's body was exhumed from the Sogeway pit, she was found to be a woman who was visiting her boyfriend for an affair. The police believe that her death was carefully planned and executed by the defendant, who also took her veil, changed the color, and particulars. These sources also said that Janet, who wanted to go into the poultry business, may have met her killers in the process, as she would have been deceived into believing that they had something to offer in regards to her poultry business. On June 12, 2020, Janet Ogbonaya was finally laid to rest by her family in her hometown in Abia State. However, after the investigation was concluded and the suspects became in custody, Janet's case gradually faded from public attention. The 3 Emmanuel brothers, Johnson, Gideon, and Success, were arrested and charged in connection with Janet's kidnapping and murder. But what happened to them after that remains unclear. The Nigerian justice system has some conflicts cases, sometimes taking years to reach a final conclusion. Despite the clear evidence against the suspects and their confirmation, there has been no public confidence that they will formally charge, tried, or convicted for their crimes to date.
That is days of her life. Amazing. What people do for money. How they go about taking people and use them for rituals or murder in order to make it away with their things. That is very coolous. Keep telling story that it's your girlfriend. Why? Parents said nothing like that. It's amazing. Yeah, amazing. Share you know like drop comment message on what you think about it. All you know about whole saga with their friends or their neighbors or their well-wishers. Thank you and God bless you. Or YouTube. Subscribe to my channel on Free Abraham. Thank you and God bless.